discovered oil belongs to them. And it took the court to actually pronounce that the land belongs to Ghana. So for now, people have done extensive work on the Ghana boundary and other countries. And we need to actually pass this particular instrument to help the nation. The EPB bill and the budget bill. And that is why, through my leader, Alexander Finyon-Markin, has actually instructed me to put in a request through the senators that I have corrected.
All right, so key voices with regard to one of the major developments in Parliament on Tuesday, rather. We got to know of the MPP groups.
The majority group
is becoming quite a lot. So to be on the safer side, we like to call them caucuses these days, so that we are just left out of this whole back and forth. So key voices in relation to the developments in Parliament on Tuesday and then aftermath on Wednesday as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm joined in the studio by Kwame Jantua Esquire, member of the CPP, Ishaq Ibrahim Esquire, lecturer, UPSA Law School, and then Adele Umar, who is a president. Member of the NDC communication team. I nearly gave him a new position altogether.
You should have just ended it, because I would have just hurry and saw and go like,
Today being Friday,
Wallah. Inshallah.
Well, I hope you are all well.
We are doing great.
I can see that the campaign is going on very well for Ishaq.
We are enjoying it, especially number one cap and the number one T-shirt.
Absolutely.
And come 7th December. And then 7th January, Baume will be the number one president.
Oh, that's
Ghana never had.
Mr. Johnson, why are you looking at him like this? why are you looking at him like this?
He's an MPP at heart, so he always admires me.
Please, I'm not an MPP at heart. I have plenty relatives in the MPP, equally in the NDC. So my heart is with the CPP.
Mm-hmm. Your heart is in the CPP.
Yeah, my heart is with the CPP. But you see, Ghanaians have become very sophisticated in their voting. And for me, in the ballot box is where to decide. What happened in 2008? Everybody said that Akufo-Addo was winning this election, hands down. What happened? Did he win? Ghanaians have become very sophisticated. Look, I foresee a parliament with a majority in one party and a president from another party in this election.
You think so?
Yes. I foresee it.
Wow.
I foresee it.
But that will be a case with the current events.
Especially if Parliament doesn't quickly solve this matter. Gradually, Ghanaians are getting fed up of this matter. And you know Ghanaians, they won't talk. Ballot box, they will show you.
But what you say that you foresee an instance where would have a different majority in Parliament and a different executive, right? Looking at how things have unfolded with this particular, in quote, hang Parliament, do you think Ghanaians are willing to risk it?
You don't think Ghanaians are happy with the Parliament we have?
No.
You don't think so?
You don't think so? You think Ghanaians are happy with a Parliament that has a huge majority and wholesale passing? You think so?
Oh,
can you imagine? Can you imagine the LGBTQ bill?
Yes.
If one had a majority, can you imagine what would have happened? Look, don't take Ghanaians for granted. That is what politicians are doing. Don't take Ghanaians for. They are watching, and now they believe they don't want coup. They know that the thumb. They are prepared to wait 4 years. And unfortunately, the MPP hasn't been able to address the challenges and the things that have happened in their tenure that have gone against this country. They haven't been able to address it properly. The communication hasn't been strong. Look, yesterday I discovered something. Which...
Is it in relation to the Parliament issue?
It's in relation to some of the things the MPP have done.
Okay.
When you look at, so far, what the MPP has done towards STEM education is phenomenal. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to communicate it. I went to Minister of Education yesterday to just check education-wise, and they gave me a pen drive. And when I watched that pen drive, and you look at the type of STEM schools they have built in the rural areas, and in some of the secondary schools in the rural areas, it's phenomenal. But they haven't been able to communicate
as well.
Yes.
And that is the challenge they have with this election. Huge challenge.
Thank you.
Huge challenge.
Can I add something to that?
Okay, quickly.
Yes, I agree with him that yes, we've not been able to communicate all the goodies we did. We are a beneficiary of a STEM education, the Passenger Senior High. If you go and see it, I've never seen secondary school like that in the 5 northern regions. It's I mean, you just have to get to that community. People coming from Accra, all over the country to go. But I think, even though nationally we've not been able to communicate it fully, but the communities that we have built here have appreciated them and they love them. It's for this reason we are actually going to win the election.
All right.
We have to remember that it's not just Accra. All those
But
particular
you
areas.
equally have to avert your
Ishaq.
mind to the fact that it's not just STEM schools that
No, it's not just STEM schools. Yes, but what I'm saying is that the beneficiary communities,
Their negatives are more than
actually
their positives.
enjoying them.
That's the challenge.
Not really.
Their
not
negatives
really.
are
I think
more
that's
than
where
their-
I
their-
differ with
their-
him.
their-
do you know that
what do you call it?
at the moment there is there is this confusion about reopening dates in schools and
Yeah.
all that when
A legacy of COVID.
full results
I
are not
think-
out
yes.
for the very first
It's not
time.
just-
We are having instances where they say results are
So the
pending.
trouble of
these
the
days,
trouble of us
these days
is that
the academic calendar is
yes,
not even predictable.
The trouble of us is that we think it's only Ghana that is happening. It's a legacy of COVID. In Britain, for example, even they have COVID legacies in the university.
This is where it's biting us.
You
What
see that?
Britain?
No, but what I'm saying
That
that
is
no.
their
But it is
economy.
unfair not to have in mind the effect comes from COVID, and that Ghana is not in it alone. All other countries are trying to resolve it.
Ghanaians don't understand.
So if you
that.
just say Ghana alone, you are not putting it within a context.
Ishaq, that's okay.
It is fairer when you put it in context.
Ishaq, that's okay.
Thank you.
Abdel. Adele, sorry. Adele, any preliminary comments in relation to this, and we'll delve into our meat of the day.
Basically, all I want to talk about this morning is to say that my entire presentations today would be based on the word principle.
Okay.
And principle is supposed to be the set of rules, that we put together to guide us. And so when you set principles, they're supposed to be that guide that, helps you take decisions going forward. You can have bad principles, you can have, good ones as well. And once we set them, if it's a bad principle, then you want to change it. And if it's a good one, you want to maintain it. So for me, I think that all we'll be discussing today would have to do with principles and fairness and equity and the likes of it. And I pray that by the time the show ends, at least Prof would understand where I'm coming from.
Okay. All right. I think we can start the
What a
conversation.
subtle attack.
We'll start off with events in Parliament. The NPP group in the House has decided to trigger a recall. They say that there's urgent business to be attended to. Ishaq, you come from the fold of the NPP.
Yes.
Some say that we are defeating the whole purpose of the Speaker adjourning the House indefinitely, so that
Yes.
there's some finality to this particular issue before they resume. There are others who even feel that, there's no need for the House to reconvene, because what really are they coming to attend to? Some of these things they are coming to pass. They could have done them in the earlier life of the Parliament, and if we allow them to come and pass some of these things, they are going to do a shoddy job, shortchange a lot of us, and so they shouldn't even bother reconvening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. I think the call by the majority caucus for Parliament to reconvene is in the right direction. In fact, it has given me some hopes. For the past 1.5 weeks, I have been very, very sad about the affairs, about the behavior of the Speaker in particular, and that of the minority caucus, the NDC. Why have I been sad? I am an MPP who subscribes to freedom in the private enterprise. the ideals of conservatism. Nevertheless, I'm also a Pan-African who subscribed to the famous statement of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. The behavior of the speaker in the past 1.5 weeks gives me doubts as to those famous quotations by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Why? I'm saying this because the speaker's behavior had in acting unlawfully in 3 different ways. The speaker is suffer from what we call democratic deficit. Powers is directly drawn from the people. The speaker did not draw his power directly from the people. The speaker drew his power from the people representatives. And when the Constitution created the office of the speaker, the Constitution made it very clear that the legitimacy of the speaker stems from his ability to be impartial. That is his main legitimacy. Mm-hmm. The legitimacy of the speaker lies on his ability to monitor events of parliament, to preside over debate in a position of impartiality. Last week and this week, the speaker have abandoned this principle. Adele said we should speak about principles. Mm-hmm. The speaker have abandoned it and have taken sides. We knew he was an NDC, but when he was elected speaker, even though I was disappointed, I was left with hope that this is one of the opportunities that a black man is able to prove that we are capable of managing our own affairs. Why am I doing this? Again, I always love comparison. If you compare it to the Westminster Parliament, there's no law requiring the speaker to be impartial. There are what we call political conventions and constitutional conventions, and they have always abided by it. Why is it that we have a clear-cut law establishing the office of the speaker, and the Constitution requires that he must be impartial, but he refuses to be impartial and be engaged in the bidding of the NDC?
Is this
the second thing?
Do we say that?
The second thing. Let me learn. You get an opportunity to ask me.
No, just this point.
Yes.
Are we then saying that when Professor Aaron Maizukwe was there, he was equally partisan?
So occasionally he might subtly, but this speaker have actually left the referee position and has become a player on the side of the NDC, which is quite disappointing. He is a player. He's no longer a referee. A betrayal of the Constitution that created the office for him. His legitimacy as a speaker stems from his impartiality. He has abandoned that constitutional provision that requires him to be impartial. The next thing that saddened me was the speaker's overreaching his power. In other words, he has stolen powers from the High Court. The Constitution is very clear. Yes, Article 97, subclause 1, G and H, uses imperative language. Yeah. He said people shall vacate. Here is the case. There is a rival meaning subscribed to a provision of the Article 97, GH, that says that if he seeks to remain in Parliament, as an independent, we have 3 people affected by this provision. Okay. There are 2 rival meanings attached to them. One group says that this particular provision is talking about the future.
How is it rival meaning?
Yes, look, why did it all of a sudden become I would explain to you. I would explain to you. Let me flow a bit, I will explain to you. There's a rival meaning because are there 2 people arguing that this is the meaning or not?
In 2020,
no. Do you agree?
Wait. In 2020, was the argument there?
2020 or 2012? 2020. I think it meant 2020. The argument wasn't there. But Adele said we should speak about principle. Yeah. My principle is that Professor McQuay was wrong. That's my principle. I want to say.
Did you say it then?
No, it doesn't matter. Article 2 of the 1992 Constitution, it doesn't say Ishak must oppose it. It said every Ghanaian. It didn't say Ishak. It didn't say MPP. The Article 2 of the 1992 Constitution says every Ghanaian. But let me move to my point. So my point is that rival meaning has been put in it. And when you look at our jurisprudence, it gives rise to what we call issue of interpretation. So with issue interpretation, Article 130 have reserved that power to that of the Supreme Court to interpret. And Article 99, subclause 1A, made it clear that whenever there is a dispute, as far as parliamentary numbers are concerned, whether somebody has vacated their office, it is for the High Court to decide.
So why did you guys end up at the Supreme Court?
Yes, I will explain to you how we went there. So Article 99 of the 1992 Constitution says, if there's a dispute as to whether there is vacancy in Parliament or not, it is not for the Speaker to decide. It is for the High Court to decide. Are we okay?
Yes, we are okay.
It is not for the Speaker to decide. It is for the High Court to decide. The Speaker, having been put into notice by the majority caucus that there is an issue here and what we disagree with how you are going to interpret it, and therefore it is a High Court. But the Speaker have refused and took the powers of the High Court by making a ruling. Some people say he merely gives an information. But what is the effect of it? The effect of it is that effectively denying 4 members of Parliament their membership of the Ghanaian Parliament, which I believe they have democratic legitimacy to be in the Speaker and to be in the Parliament, as compared to the Speaker. They have more legitimacy to be in Parliament because they have drawn their place directly from the people. And the Constitution is very clear. Power emanates from the people, not the Speaker. So the Speaker have overreached by stealing powers from the High Court. And he has even gone further. He has taken the power of the Supreme Court for interpretation. The Supreme Court in special tribunal, ex parte Acosta, made it very clear. Whenever there is a rival meaning attached to any provision of this Constitution, you must come to us for an interpretation. And so you ask the question, why didn't Efonyo Makin went to the High Court?
Yes.
Instead, he went to the Supreme Court. Mr. Gentua, help me. Open Article 130 of the 1992 Constitution and see what the court said. What they call it, the Supreme Court is the right place to go because he's going for enforcement of the Constitution. If you have stolen power from somewhere else,
enforcement or interpretation?
No, enforcement and interpretation. He has refused. So if you have refused, he rightly went. It's not just if it is interpretation
but even
alone.
at the time he went to the Supreme Court,
Yes.
nothing had taken place.
Sorry?
At the time he went to the Supreme Court.
No, he
nothing
wanted to
had-
stop him in the first place from making the pronouncement. But having made the pronouncement, the Supreme Court is still the right place to go for enforcement and interpretation of the Constitution. I mean, look at Article 130, and it will help settle the matter. Subject to the jurisdiction of the High Court in the enforcement of the fundamental human rights and freedom, as provided in Article 33 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court shall have exclusive original jurisdiction in all matters relating to the enforcement or interpretation of this Constitution, or all matters arising as to whether an enactment was made in excess of the powers conferred on the Parliament or in any other authority or person by law under this Constitution. So it is very, very clear that if somebody have taken powers from other organs of government, the right place for you to initiate for the enforcement of the Constitution and the interpretation is the Supreme Court. So I don't know why some people say he should have gone to the High Court. The High Court does not enforce the Constitution. They do not interpret it. So if you see an organ stealing power, because remember, our 1992 Constitution, we are operating under separation of powers and the rule of law. So if somebody has failed to stay within their power, it is the Supreme Court that will have the final say. Other people have argued that the Speaker have powers under Article 110 to be able to make those pronouncements because Article 110 says Parliament shall have power subject to certain provisions to be able to determine procedure in Parliament. So if you say procedure, this is a general power. Compare it with the specific power given under Article 99. So it is in constitutional law, a specific power comes first before a general power. So he has overreached the High Court. And the last thing that saddened me was the fact that the Supreme Court has now made a direct directive ordering for a stay of whatever ruling he has made. So in other words, the Supreme Court has frozen everything. All that the Speaker was left to do was to communicate informally to both parties so that Parliament would resume. Instead of doing that, he's adjourning Parliament.
Well,
An abdication of his responsibility.
But the Supreme Court, no matter what, cannot tell the House how to run its affairs.
It's not telling the House how to run. It's telling the Speaker,
so why is it
do not steal power from other organs of
So
government.
why is that if the Speaker says it is prudent that I adjourn indefinitely?
No, it is not prudent.
Because
Yes.
there is some form of confusion with regard
No,
to the
it's an
constitution
abdication
the
of his
House.
responsibility.
Well.
It's very clear. The Constitution is very clear. We are operating under the supremacy of the Constitution. The Constitution said when there is an impasse, the Supreme Court shall have the last say. The Supreme Court has spoken, and what they said is that the status quo must be preserved.
Your minute is up. I want us to stay within time. And I think that this is the very first time we have seen a situation where the Supreme Court is giving a ruling and the criticism has been quite unanimous. Apart from a few.
Not really.
Apart from a few within government especially.
Majority criticize it.
Yes, majority have criticized it. The ruling.
No, majority criticize the Speaker for not
No,
obeying
I'm saying
the
majority
ruling.
of the people have criticized
The Supreme
Court's
Court?
ruling. Yes.
No.
Let me go to Abdel.
Okay.
Mr. Jantua will have the final say on this
Okay.
one. I know that both of you will look at it from your political lenses. So, Mr. Jantua at least would give us all a fair appreciation. Adele, yes. Ishak says that
Yes.
the Speaker, who comes from the fold of the NDC, has decided to become a player instead of being a referee. And he abdicated his responsibilities by choosing to adjourn the House indefinitely.
All right.
When the Supreme Court had given a ruling staying his earlier communication ruling or whatever it is to the House about the seats in Parliament.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to start from here regarding when Prof makes reference to the fact that when there are rival meanings, it is always good to go, for interpretation. When the Constitution says, for example, that when you drive without a license, you have committed a crime. And then I find myself in the streets with Mr. Ishak. Say Mr. Ishak is basically the police officer, and Adele is the driver, and Adele is driving without a license. There's no mate. This one is a private vehicle. Jantua is bigger than me.
This time I want to be a bit.
Adele is basically the driver. Adele is holding some small, weak Excel. Mr. Ishak says, Adele, you have basically, flouted the rules. And for that matter, you have been arrested. Adele says, oh, no, you can't arrest me. Why? Because I believe that in as much as the Constitution says that if I drive without a license, I am supposed to be arrested. I actually do have a license, but it is expired. Then we say, oh, we need to go to the Supreme Court to get interpretation. That would be very ridiculous. Very, very ridiculous.
But that's not a constitutional provision.
I'm coming. It doesn't. I'm bringing you.
Okay.
I'm just taking you on a conversation. I am basically having a conversation of ambiguity. There are articles. There are articles in the Constitution that are plain, clean language. The article that gives, for example, he quotes Article 130. No? That is clean and clear. Do you need an interpretation of that? You just quoted it this morning. Do you need an interpretation of this?
Yes. The Supreme Court has interpreted it. And Akosa.
Okay, good. Good. I'm coming. So based on this article, you read it and it's English language. The interpretation that was given by the Supreme Court, is it different from what you're reading?
Yes, it gave 4 situations. If we have, you must come.
It gave
4
what?
situations
In
when
which?
the High Court must make referral to the Supreme Court for interpretation.
I can understand that. You're going to the.
Akosa.
I'm coming. it says here that you go to the Supreme Court for interpretations. It has told you categorically. So you go to the Supreme Court for interpretations, whether it is 4 different, situations that he's give you 10 different situations, 15 different situations. I'm saying that the basic principle here is that you have to go to the Supreme Court for interpretation. I'm saying that the ruling that the Supreme Court gave and those examples you're citing, did any of them depart from going to the Supreme Court for interpretation? No.
I don't understand your question.
You won't understand it.
No.
Listen, I'm saying that there are articles in the Constitution that are not ambiguous. When you read it, you know it. If I say this thing is gray, it is gray. We don't need to go and argue about it. We don't need to go asking someone to come and teach us what it means.
Well, to the point where at a certain point you say it's gray and someone else says no, it's black.
So
Then
we would have
get
to.
someone to
Then we would have to
tell us what it is.
No problem. Then we would have to. But I'm asking you this morning. This is gray. Does he see black?
Well, I see black.
Thank you.
No. I said this. I didn't touch that.
No, yes. So
Yes,
I'm saying.
so I'm making reference to this.
Yes.
I'm not making reference
So,
to that.
You see, and that's
Okay,
the thing.
so let me make it easier.
Here's the thing. So
Adele, refer to what you're making reference to because the listeners won't.
Hey,
see what
he's not
you're
a
making
lawyer.
reference
We forgive him.
No. Don't even
no,
look.
you see,
Please.
when we
This
do
issue
it
about
that-
lawyer,
no,
it doesn't
Adele,
even come.
Adele, hold
Hey,
on. So,
Dad,
Adele-
No.
Adele, hold on for me.
Interpretation.
Adele, hold on for me. So the
So,
thing
Shaq,
is,
when you're speaking, I'm
Ishaq,
sitting here.
Okay.
Adele.
When you're sitting here,
Ishaq, so
I'm
listen,
sitting here.
Yeah, the thing is that
Yes.
there are many people listening to us
Okay.
who are not lawyers,
Yes.
who have no legal education.
Okay.
So we cannot limit it to just lawyers. You understand?
No, we are not limiting the speech to lawyers. We are talking about interpretation of a constitution.
And so, in that way,
Yes.
there are people who are non-lawyers and want
Yes.
to understand it in the simplest of
The
forms.
simplest way,
You
yes.
understand?
Yes.
So, yes.
Sweetheart, why is the Constitution being sold to the average person and written in English? If you would take it and then you read it and you still can't understand it, that would be very, very ridiculous.
I
It's
mean-
almost like saying that, it's like God giving you the Bible or the Quran and it says that, but you still can't understand unless you go get someone to help you understand. That's just ridiculous.
I mean,
that
with
is to say,
with regard to the content of it,
I mean-
you are supposed to give it first of all its simplest and first meanings
That
until
is
it
why-
becomes
Exactly. That is
there
why-
are alternative
that
or
is
different meanings
that is
being
why
ascribed to
that
it.
is why I am saying that basically there are certain articles in the Constitution that are ambiguous.
Yes,
And there are-
unambiguous. Yes.
that are unambiguous, and there are some that you definitely would need a little bit of guidance. I'm
And you
saying-
believe that for the unambiguous ones, this is one of them.
Certainly.
Okay.
I'm starting from the MPP Constitution.
Okay.
In your MPP Constitution, Article 35A, 4, it indicates that all persons belonging to the political party NPP would follow and abide by the rules and regulations set by the party. It goes on to talk about Article 39, which says that if you support a candidate outside what the NPP as a party has actually made available or sponsored, you automatically forfeit your seat. The first question I want to ask this morning is that those two MPs, let's leave the former MP, those two MPs, are they still members of the NPP as we speak, per their constitution? Are they?
No.
They are not. Per their
I
constitution.
did not.
No, they are not.
Can you repeat your question? I was distracted.
Per the NPP's constitution,
Yes.
Article 39, it states categorically
That.
that if you leave the party and you support an independent candidate for which the party has actually sponsored a candidate for, you automatically forfeit your membership of the
yes,
party.
That's true.
Does that mean that those two members of parliament, as we speak today,
They forfeited their
automatically
membership.
they have forfeited their membership?
Absolutely.
We can agree on that.
If we, I mean, on the
plain language
of
of
it,
their
that's what it is.
their
I
constitution,
disagree.
Prima facie, on the face of it.
on the face of it.
on their constitution,
And that is what
according
the,
to your
and that
constitution.
is what the MPP triggered.
That is what
in
Michael
Hobson
Quay
and
used.
Doyer's
Exactly.
case, for
No,
example.
I'm actually
Even the
bringing
reason
My
why
argument in
Hobson-
this morning
I'm bringing you- I'm
is not
bringing
based
you.
on that area.
Okay.
So let's clear.
Let's. I am making my presentation.
Okay, so
Yeah. Okay. Great.
so you are
So-
now
so
you have
I-
established your point
They are
on
not.
their own.
They are not members.
Okay.
If the MPP wants to have a conversation of waiver, what they can discuss is that they can say, for example, in our constitution, it indicates categorically that you have to be a member for 5 years to qualify for vice presidential candidate. There was a time when Council of State sat down and we decided that we wanted to waive that. If you do that, we can have a conversation. But for as long as you have not brought out a communique indicating that even though our constitution says A, B, C, D, E, but we have decided as Council of State of the party to give a waiver for these two members of parliament in order to assist us be able to continue governance the way we want it. We can have a different conversation. But as we speak, per your constitution, they are not members of your party. Now, this now takes me to Article 97. So we are establishing that they are not members of your party. If you think that that provision is a problem, remove it from your constitution. But for as long as you have it there, you cannot eat your cake and have it. So that is one. Now we come to Article 97. It says something categorically. It starts from G before it goes to H. The first principle is that if a member of parliament, at the time of his elections, the party that brought him in, if he leaves the party that brought him in at the time of his elections to join another party, so that is like saying from a party to another party. So the former MP, the situation that we had in the past in 2020, he was moving from his party to independent. We would say it didn't directly touch him. Today he's moving from independent to his party. We can still say that first one doesn't touch him. But let's go to the second part. It says, or he seeks to remain in parliament as an independent candidate.
Point of order. Why doesn't it touch him?
Okay,
Because
so
you can take that independent situation as his party.
As forfeiting his earlier party.
Exactly.
okay, so the reason why I'm saying this is because, you see, in the Constitution, it made reference to independent on the second part. It
Don't
said
let them
or,
distract you. Move forward.
No, no,
More, but you move on.
or independent,
The age.
or
Read the
seeks
age.
to remain, in parliament as an independent candidate. So there's a provision for that word independent over there. If the Constitution felt that they wanted to, if the framers of the Constitution thought that they wanted to indicate independence from the beginning, whether it's from party to independent to party, they would have said that. But I'm saying that on the face value, if you look at it on the face,
Okay.
from party to party, is what it basically says. So it's either you're moving from NDC to NPP or NPP to, if I'm taking it on the face value. But I'm saying the second part of it says that if the person seeks to remain in parliament as an independent candidate. So you ask yourself again, we're having a conversation. The NPP is in court today at the Supreme Court, seeking something from the Supreme Court. They're telling the Supreme Court to enforce that those two candidates should be left in parliament as what? Independent candidates. Certainly not members of NPP, because they are they are no longer members of the NPP.
Well, the leader of the caucus says they have not been informed by these two individuals that they have left the party.
No, they don't have to be informed. You see, that's what we're saying. That's why I started by quoting his constitution. It says automatically forfeits it. So whether you write to me or you don't write to me, you have lost it. Whether I write to you,
I hope
don't
I'll
write
get
to you,
a
you
right
have
to
lost
respond.
it. No, you would respond.
Okay.
No.
Whether you have
You've had your time.
whether you have written or you have not written to the person, it doesn't really basically matter. If look, sweetheart, you're working Starr FM, you're told
You should be wrapping up in
I'll be
3
wrapping up
minutes,
very
yes.
soon. You're told categorically that when you come, this is your job, this is what you're supposed to do. You don't get here and then you sit behind the scene and you say you're waiting for someone to write to you to tell you what time to start your show. You know what time you're supposed to start your show. So when the article is not ambiguous and it's open and it has indicated categorically that you automatically forfeit your membership, there is no conversation around it. So I now say that, okay, if they are no longer members of the NPP, and you are in court, telling the court to insist that these members who are no longer members of your party, certainly you are insisting to the court that they stay in parliament as independent candidates because they are not going to the NDC. If they are supposed to stay in parliament, in this current parliament, as independent candidate, then certainly Article 97 holds them, even if no one says it. Okay. So in effect, all I'm trying to say is that Speaker could have decided not to give a ruling. Speaker could have decided not to give a ruling. And if it doesn't give a ruling, what that would have meant is that the day they come and then they decide to vote in parliament, the day there's business in parliament and then there's voting supposed to take place, we could just simply ask on what authority are you voting and who are you voting for? Because you are not a member of the NPP anymore. And we could have had that conversation there, not now. We could have had that conversation in the future where there's something that is supposed to be voted for, and then you come and you want to vote, and then we'll ask you on what authority, what basis are you voting? Are you voting as a member of the NPP, as an independent, as an NDC? On what basis are you voting? Because as we speak, you are no longer a member of your party, and there is no communique from the party that indicates that these members are still members of their party.
All right. So You have a minute to go. Within that minute, what is your response to his assertion that the speaker has abdicated his job as a referee and is a player working in favor of the NDC?
Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. The speaker has indicated in his ruling, again, listen, the speaker indicated in his ruling that he has actually met with leadership. Because the truth is that he met with Afenyo and then he met with Atufosen together with leadership in his office. He indicated to them that what is the way forward? They couldn't agree. So his statement was that, if you, the leadership, cannot even agree here, what are we going to do in the House? It will be chaotic. You know, Mr. Ishak, that when there is a problem, wisdom requires that if there's somebody in the House who is elderly, he finds ways to basically, let tempest, please, let tempest fall. When a man is divorcing his wife and they are
The
at
speaker,
each other's
per
throat.
what
Yes.
Afenyo Marking had said,
Yes.
was that what he had said was that the speaker had told them that he needed to do further consultation. Reason he was going to adjourn the House indefinitely.
Okay,
that
so
was what it
aside that happening in that room, our caucus who were present also indicated that Afenyo Marking told the speaker that if the speaker does not tell the current NDC members to move from their seat onto the other side for them to enter the chamber, they are not entering the chamber. They would as well sit in their offices and listen to his directives. And the reason why speaker said, okay, if that is the case, what is going to happen is that, we probably have the numbers, to transact business, but we don't have the numbers to do what? To take decisions, because you're sitting in your offices in any case. So what I'm saying is that when you have buzzed your party members to Parliament House, and then they are all in there, NDC members of Parliament are saying, no, this is our rightful place. MPP saying, no, that is not your rightful place. Arguments are going to happen. You think that wisdom requires that the speaker comes to the House and says that, look, you know what, whether you like it or not, let's proceed.
So
No,
for you,
certainly not.
it was the right thing to do.
Look, all, excuse me to say, but all the reasonable persons I have heard speak on this have indicated that tempest needed to cool. People needed to go back home. You can recall, when he said Sinadai, you recall the same day. You didn't? You did. So tempest should cool down, The fact that he has adjourned it doesn't mean that we cannot recall. We can recall. And you have done that. You have invoked it. You are given that under the Constitution to actually re-invoke. And you have done that. The same way you are asking us to abide by whatever rules it is that is coming from court and blah, blah, blah. These are the rules of Parliament. He has effected it. You have rules under the same Parliament to be able to actually call back. You have called back. There's no, reason for arguments. I'm saying that it was the wisest decision you could have taken at the time.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Jantua,
Yes,
the people of Ghana are waiting to hear from you.
Who, me?
Yes, please.
No, really?
Yes.
Why?
I mean,
I'm a dissenting voice, am
you
I?
are the dissenting voice. You are the one that, when they listen to those, say, okay, well, Mr. Jantua is not either for NDC or in NPP. So
Then that's
I'm
a reconciliatory voice.
I'm for CPP.
Okay.
Well, taking from Ishak,
Oh dear.
where he tried to indicate that the Supreme Court was the only court that takes decisions. He's right to some extent. However, there are other bodies that also have interpretative powers.
yes.
The High Court, the Court of Appeal, Parliament, and even the Council of State. They can also interpret the Constitution. However, the Supreme Court, I would say, would have the final interpretation. Now, I feel 97, 99, 101, 130 creates lacunas that allow politicians to play around with.
Yeah.
And something really has
Must be
to be done to cement those lacunas. Now, when you come to the pronouncement of Honorable Michael Quay and the pronouncement of Honorable Babin, both of them used one operative word. Honorable Michael Quay in taking the decision he took, indicated that the parliamentarians' conduct, his conduct, had shown. In terms of babbing, he used their actions. Is there a difference?
Conduct and actions, they mean the same thing.
They mean the same thing.
Yes.
They mean the same thing. So, if that is the case, tell me what Babin did wrong. Going by Michael Quay's situation. Then, number two, when Adjoa Safo was absent from Parliament, for the duration she was absent of, what did we hear the Speaker say? That if she doesn't produce herself, he would declare her seat vacant. Did he have the right to do that? Was he supposed to go to 99? Was he supposed to go to, what do you call it?
High Court,
Supreme Court? No. So what's the difference between the two? Tell me. What is the difference between... is there a difference? Somebody tell me if there is a difference.
And even at that time, the majority in the House were for a possible declaration of a seat being vacant. Because at the time, they felt she wasn't playing ball.
And who was going to make that seat vacant?
It was a speaker.
Was it the Speaker?
Nobody had thought about the Supreme Court nor the High Court.
Exactly. So what's the difference?
The numbers, politics of numbers.
What's the difference? You see, and this is where we need to take politics out of some of these things. Because what does it do? It makes it look as if Parliament is immature. And they always have to run back to the Supreme Court. I would have felt that where Afenyo marking is concerned, once the Speaker indicated, and remember, the Speaker indicated that he was informing Parliament. It meant that they had had a discussion, and he did indicate the discussions he'd had, his references that he was using. He didn't even quote the what do you call it, the precedent of Michael Quay.
Oh, he did, actually.
He did. Okay. All right. He wasn't bound.
He said it's precedent, but it's not bound. It's not binding on subsequent speakers either.
So if that is the case, he used everything that was there with regards to reaching his decision. So, Honorable the Majority Leader afterwards should have gone back to him in chambers and said, Mr. Speaker, this decision you made, we don't think it's right. Call the Minority Leader in and sit down and then go through it with the fine-tooth comb. And then if he still did not accept what the Speaker would have said to him, come out, tell the people that ABCD went on and we are not happy with it, so we are going to the Supreme Court.
But not
even Supreme Court.
High Court.
We are going to 99. Bearing in mind that their own Speaker, from the MPP,
had done same.
The Speaker.
But his argument is that the party had written to him.
Irrespective. The fact that the party has written to you, the party isn't in Parliament. And the party can't determine what Parliament's action is. So what I thought Okwe should have done, we should have gone back to 99 and said to Parliament, based on what the party has written, I'm going back to 99 to see whether the High Court will agree by the basis in which the party is saying, to confirm whether the party was right, and look at the procedure they used to indicate that that particular parliamentarian wasn't fit to be in Parliament. All that wasn't done. Everything has gone underneath the table. At the present moment, you see, and this is where Parliament are taking the people of Ghana for granted. And if they are not careful, the people of Ghana will show them where power lies come election day. We show them, because they have to be able. For me, I believe that any parliamentarian who decides to cross carpet, before you cross carpet, go back to your constituents. Get signatures from them to prove that they are in favor of you crossing carpet to another side. Don't you think if any of the four had done that, they would have a stronger case? They would have had a stronger case. That it is not of our free will, my own free will or our free will. We've gone back to our constituencies. We've gathered tons of signatures telling us to cross carpet. In such a situation, what will the Supreme Court say? In such a situation, what will the High Court say? In such a situation, what can Parliament say? Parliament is made up of the people's representatives. And Ishak was saying that the Speaker, the parliamentarians are much more powerful than the Speaker. Well, but who put the Speaker in place? Isn't it the people's representatives? Are they not acting on behalf of the people? So if they decided to put a Speaker in place, doesn't the Speaker derive his power from the people? He does. I would want a situation, and today I'm a bit not sure now, but I felt that at any given election, the Electoral Commission presents a CI to Parliament
I think
to
I was
indicate.
I was reading somewhere that they do not intend presenting a CI.
Okay. I was under the impression
That they were going to.
that they would do it so that it
needed the 21
illustrates the different rules and regulations that election is going to go under. But apparently they are using, I think, CI 96 or something like that, which is already in place.
Yeah.
So it is not required. And probably what I also understand is that if they are going to change something in the existing CI, that is when they would have to go back to Parliament. Now, if that is the case, then please, we need to let cool heads roll. All the guaguagra has gone on. Right now, where we are now, there are bills in Parliament that need to be passed. But one thing that struck me, when yesterday the MPP caucus, and I think the Speaker should adopt that phrase to clear this thing about majority and minority. We are how many days to election? 44 days to election. 43 days to election, whatever, 44, 43, 41 days to election. There's no way we can have a by-election. Because you need a certain duration of time before an election to have a by-election. To let all these things die, majority, MPP caucus, NDC caucus, for the next 43 days. But one thing that also pricked my mind was that in the bills that were brought forward to recall Parliament, LI 2642, is it? 2462.
Is it the one for the forest?
Yes.
It's not included.
It was included. It wasn't part of it. And they will tell you that, the LI is already in Parliament. But it should have been included because the President promised organized labor that it is something they are going to deal with. But it wasn't part of it. Now, let me ask the last time we recalled Parliament, what happened?
They didn't do much.
They didn't do much.
Yeah.
Some of those bills that they want to pass are the ones that were recalled then.
Yeah.
And they didn't do much.
When we spoke to Dr. Frederick Oduro, for instance, a governance analyst, he says he doesn't even see the reason for the House to be recalled because the last time they were recalled, they didn't really do much.
They didn't do much.
If they are recalled, they are going to actually rush through the process, and we the Ghanaians may not necessarily
get the benefit of it.
So whatever it is, January is around the corner. It can be reconsidered. Time.
For me, right now, it would be a good thing for them to keep it as it is so that parliamentarians can go and campaign. This election, it's in the ballot box. That is where it is, in the ballot box.
It's not whether you are majority
I
or a
said
minority.
it is in the ballot box. Ghanaians have become sophisticated voters. If you see what happened in 2020, don't take it past them.
At all. And they are noted for not speaking.
They are
sometimes,
exactly.
but
They are
they
not.
their decision would
their
be made.
decision would work.
Would be
So,
made.
let's please and please. I would.
So
like,
do you think the recall is necessary?
at this point, for what? If the what do you call it, especially if the Electoral Commission is not bringing any new CIs, they would, both sides, the caucuses, both sides, if they can sit and talk some sense to themselves and say, Ghana comes first before our political party. And you see, one of the issues that is working this thing are the political parties from the outside coming in, directing the parliamentarians what to do. If they can say, Ghana is much bigger than us, let's recall and let's do what we have to do. It's just 43 days. Anyway, when does Parliament go on recess for the elections? A few days.
Yes.
November. We're getting November.
This recall, if it was free of controversy, was going to last for about three or so weeks.
3 or so weeks.
Yes.
They've already spent about 2 weeks. So let's say 1 week. So what is the use? What is the use? And okay, they want to also go and pass loans and all that kind of thing.
And that's
the
why
energy sector and all that kind of thing. But the current moment, if they can't see eye to eye, how is that possible? I must say, to some extent, it was a good thing that we didn't see the scenes we saw at the beginning of the year in Parliament with the clashes.
So it was good the majority.
So
it was good the majority.
Yeah,
He had made any other pronouncement, there would have been chaos.
Yeah, but the thing
And
is
also
that
the decision of the NPP caucus to walk out.
exactly, that was what I was going to. Because when you listen to Afenya Marking, what did he say? He said something quite striking. MDC, they are our brothers, they are our friends. We talk, we eat, we do everything together. It isn't because of this that we are coming to knock heads. So based on that, we walked out. So look, for me, NDC, you've made your point clear. You've made your point clear. Everybody sees where the lacunas are. Everybody sees where the distractions are. You've made your point clear. Let's bring Ghana first.
Okay. All right.
Let's bring Ghana first.
I think that's a good point to wrap this up. And I'll give you all a minute each to just speak about the decision, the independent MPs saga. They are the reasons we are here. Had they not declared their intentions to, had they not decided to go independent, perhaps would not be in the Supreme Court seeking interpretation, because the MPP would have their majority, no matter how slim it is. There were pictures circulating that seemed to suggest that they had rescinded their decisions, but then they all came out. I mean, the two, to be specific, Cynthia Morrison and Kwadwo Asante, they came out and indicated that they had not rescinded and they were going to run as independent candidates. I mean, were there plans to talk them out of it, Ishak?
Okay, I'll use my 1 minute to clean up. But before I said that, I'll just make it clear. I believe people should be given the freedom to change political parties if they want.
Okay.
It shouldn't be a problem. But I don't see the current problem with this provision. I disagree with Mr. Gento that there are gaps.
Okay.
I'm a student who subscribed to Professor Dawkins' theory that rules need to be filled with principles. Principles are part of the law.
All right.
So, for example, some people might say the general power given to Parliament under Article 110 conflict with Article 99 when specific power is given to the High Court. We have principles that will fill it up. So if you're a student of constitutional law, lex specialis would help you. When a specific power is given to somebody and there's a general power given to somebody, the specific power takes precedence over the general power. So I believe in going to Supreme Court, there's not going to be a problem with that.
Okay.
The Supreme Court can simply say the Speaker stole powers from the High Court. And therefore, the minority based on power that was stolen from the High Court given to them cannot call themselves majority now. Because if you are a beneficiary of illegality, it's a nullity.
Okay.
So you cannot base on your legitimacy on illegality.
Why do you use the word steal when they have the power to
No,
interpret the
they don't. I
Constitution?
just explained to you that the High Court has the power to make the decision.
I mean Parliament.
No,
can
Parliament doesn't
interpret
have the
Constitution.
power.
They are part. They can.
Listen,
they can interpret Constitution.
I have just explained to you that the specific power is given to a High Court.
Give them the
power given to the Parliament is a general power to determine procedure.
All right, your minute
But,
is up.
but the
It's fine.
Constitution made it very. No, he interrupted me.
No, but
He has eaten into
no,
my
see,
minute.
you had spoken beyond that before I even
Beyond that.
started.
Okay.
Adele,
Now,
your turn.
you know the problem with the NPP. You see, they always want to bulldoze their way through everything, and you see, wisdom doesn't help if you apply it. We live in Nas Village. In Nas Village, it is indicated that everybody has goats in their houses. You have the responsibility to protect your goat in your house. If your goat walks out of your house, it is no longer your goat. Ishak's goat leaves his house. I take Ishak's goat. He says, Chinchinache, even though there's a rule, you can't take my goat, and they'll bring it back. And he wants to take it back. He wants to take it by force. No, I'm coming. I'm just saying. No problem. No problem. Don't worry. Don't worry.
It's his example.
It's my example. It's my example.
Terrible example.
He wants the goat back. Nah, he wants the goat back, but he still doesn't have the patience and the wisdom to come and say, okay, look, I know I didn't take care of things well. However, please give me my goat back. He wants to fight for it. Like he wants to do it by force. Did we tell your members of parliament to go independent? Did we tell them? Did the NDC tell your members of parliament to go independent? Did we tell them? In fact, when you started fighting to try to bring them back into the party after removing the MP for Suhum from the platform and bringing him back onto the platform, the gentlemen are still telling you that we have not rescinded. Why are you trying to get them to rescind? Because you admit that their independence is a problem. So admit you are at fault. Admit it is a problem you have created for yourself, and then come back and say, let's find a way to resolve it. NDC, come. You help us. This last few minutes. You want to be arrogant. You want to show pride, even though you have lost it.
All right, thank you. On that note, Mr. Jantua, it's your turn.
Can we explore Nash Village more?
I would love
Illegitimate rules in Nash Village. If you have your goat, the goat
Nas Village.
That's theft.
You have a
He
responsibility.
was defining theft.
No.
It's okay. Your microphone.
have stolen.
You have a responsibility.
You see, you are seeking to major on the minors. Let's move on. Mr. Jantua. Mr. Jantua.
You know.
Can you let Mr. Jantua speak, please?
You know now. For me, 97 is clear.
It's unambiguous.
I don't see any interpretation whatsoever. What does it say? It says 97:1. A member of parliament shall, not may, not perhaps.
So the moment
not
that happens,
but,
it is
shall
automatic.
Shall vacate. And let's go to H. Shall vacate if he leaves his party of which he was a member at the time of his election to parliament if he was elected a member, this is H, of parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party. The MPP guy, is he not an independent?
Yes.
Has he not joined another party? So what is the argument for? And it is not in the future. It can be interpreted both ways, though. It can be interpreted. Wait, I'm coming. I'm coming. Let me finish.
Can you let him speak?
Let me finish. Can be interpreted two ways. Can be interpreted in the present
And in the future.
In this case, it's more the present than the future because
in the future
you don't know if anybody is going to win. That will win or they'll lose.
Yeah.
So his action, his actus rea, you see, his mens rea, which is his intention, should have gotten him to vacate. Gotten him to vacate. He did not use that intention properly, and he acted. And when he acted, it goes to H. And H will tell you that you have what? Crossed carpet. If this were a parliamentary system, it would not have been a problem. Because parliamentary system, you can cross carpet, but you can be punished by your constituents for crossing carpet without letting them
informing
know.
them. All right. Okay. So
If it's for the future,
This is an admission
would the independent
that
candidate
it can be
vacate
interpreted
his seat
in
after he has won the seat? Let's say you go independent. So the Suhum MP, he's going independent. Let's assume that this interpretation is for the future. So is it the case that when he goes for that election in 2024 and he wins his seat, then he will vacate the seat?
Listen, today's discussion is really interesting. But the way Mr. Gentua ended is really disappointing. Once you said it can interpret in two ways. Special.
But he explained that.
Yes.
Even
So
though,
if he can,
even though, no. He says
even
though it can be two ways.
Yes.
It is most likely to be the first.
Exactly.
Rather than the latter.
But once it can be interpreted in
because
two
in
ways,
future you don't know whether
the
who
Supreme
win or who
Court,
lose.
once a constitutional provision can be interpreted in two ways,
Okay.
ex parte Acosta said the Supreme Court must interpret.
Okay.
Not Mr. Gentua.
I mean,
No, I'm not interpreting.
like,
I'm not interpreting.
You say it can be interpreted in two
I'm
ways.
giving my
So-
point of view.
Acosta said the Supreme Court.
NCC says education, employment, and health are the key things that will be on the minds of voters.
Yes.
Does it align with what you are picking on the ground as politicians?
Certainly, yes. I mean, it's just what it is. On education, we have indicated to them what we're looking to do. When the NDC comes to power, we've indicated the free first year. When you enter the tertiary, and then the fact that we need to actually revamp the free SHS and make it stable and
And
find
in
a
relation to
source
that,
to it.
When they
Funding
said that
source,
the
yes.
subsequent question they asked to those who talked about education,
Yes.
they said that it is free SHS,
Right.
And they wanted the challenges to be addressed. They wanted the review.
Exactly, and that's what we're basically talking about. The issues that has to do with employment. They have stolen our 1 million coders. We're still talking about it. We have spoken about the HMRS and the likes. We're still talking about it. Issues that has to do with the economy. It is basic.
Okay.
Now, if you take your salary right now and you convert it into dollar in 2016 and today,
Reduced drastically.
Marshall.
Oh yes.
Yes, I agree education. That is for the reason why Dr. Baume is going to become elected president come 7th December. Why? Our free SHS, they have opposed it and finally jumped to owning it that they introduced
But you see,
it.
there's
The
a bit
STEM
about
education, please let me use my few minutes.
Just a quick one.
Wisely.
A bit about
Yes.
a bit about your free education.
Yes.
Where you say that review means cancellation.
Yes.
Most of the respondents say
Let
that it ought to be
me
reviewed.
put my point across. As Mr. Gentua said, yes, we have not always forcefully communicated some of our goodies we have given to people. STEM education, those communities will remember that and generously vote for the MPP. But when it comes to education again, Ghanaians will forever remember that NDC have had a chance to deal with education and they butchered it. They were the first party to introduce cost sharing in the university. The fact that universities are paying higher fee is down to the NDC 1999-2000.
All right,
they brought cost sharing. They don't have a good record in education, and when they happen to come back, God forbid, you are going to buy chalks. Teachers will buy chalk to teach their own students.
All right, thank you very much, Ishak.
Now,
Mr. Gentua.
what's the sample size?
I have forgot. I
We
don't
need-
have
we
it
need-
here.
we need to
but they
see-
did it across the
we
country.
need to see the sample size.
Okay.
Apart from that, let's even give it to the MPP that education they've done well. I'll tell you, employment will cancel that, health will cancel that.
In fact, Galamsey didn't show up.
Because no,
It didn't show up prominently in the. It was done in September. the search.
Wait, health has Galamsey inside.
Well, that's true.
Health has Galamsey inside. So, in as much as, and even education, are there not challenges in education?
Yeah.
Plenty challenges. You see, the fact that they brought free SHS doesn't mean it's Muslim. And they'll tell you, but we expect what you call it. You see, look, where education is concerned, if they don't have dedicated financing to look at education, is going to still put pressure on parents. For me, what I would say, let's go back and review the Revenue Management Act for the oil. And even oil, they haven't done exploration production in 8 years.
And recently
where is
there
the
was
money coming from?
There was a stakeholder conversation in relation to
oil.
Yeah.
Even with cocoa, right now
we are dwindling. Cocoa
So
is increasing. Gold is increasing, but our environment
where
is
is the money going to come from to support education? Look, I pity the next president. Be it Biamwa, be it Baumia, be it what do you call it. I pity them because I don't understand how a party comes into power. There's no money
There's
in
no
the
money.
coffers.
Yeah.
The party is leaving power. There's still no money in the coffers. How?
Mr. Jester, thank you
How?
very much. Well, your microphone is off. Thank you all. Thank you all very much for your thoughts and your conversation, for your thoughts on this particular issue.